everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Moi, and if you're coming across this video for the first time on this channel, talk about everything technology, and on this particular video I'll be talking about web applications and how to build scalable systems, and I'll walk you through my architectural approach to that. So when people think about scalable systems or scalability, they usually think that that involves using advanced tools or using multiple databases, microsystems, Kubernetes, or generally having a complex cloud setup. But in my experience, I found that scalability does not always involve making your architecture complicated. It actually is about you making sure that your application can grow without becoming slow, expensive, and impossible to maintain. So like I mentioned in this video, I'll walk you through how I personally think about architecture when I'm building scalable web applications, because the goal as a developer is not just to confuse other developers with complexity of your code. The goal is to build systems that can solve real problems, serve customers and users properly, and also continue to grow as the product evolves. So without wasting time, let's get right into. So the first thing I do before choosing any technology is to understand the problem. Who are the users? What are they going to be doing? And what part of the application must be fast? What part must be reliable? What part must always be available? Because for instance, when you put into perspective and architecture, what you build for a blog is different from what you build for a fintech application or what you build for a real-time booking application. So good architecture comes from understanding the problem first. You don't just go straight into saying what stack are we going to use to build this system, but you take a moment and you ask, what are we designing this system for? So once you start to ask that question and once you have the answers, the technical decisions that you make towards building this application or towards building this web application becomes easier. So next, I identify the core user flows. Every application, whether a mobile or a web, usually has one or two flows that really matters. For instance, an e-commerce website could focus on browsing products and checking out. A learning platform could be about watching videos, and a booking website could be about seeing the available dates and also making reservations. So what I do is I usually focus my best efforts on these flows, and I find that not every part of the application or not every part of an app requires the same level of complexity. For instance, a payment process flow on your application might require much more logging and retries and monitoring compared to the backend settings, which probably does not require as much logging. So now it's time to start simple. Simple basically means you have a system that is easy to understand, easy to test, and easy to change. You definitely do not want messy, where you have a code base that is very scattered and no one knows exactly where anything is happening. So the best way to do this is to set boundaries in your code base. What this involves is, for instance, if you have a system that has users, orders, payments, and reports, for instance, you need to set boundaries in your code base so that when you do adding more features over time, it is easier to scale. So the next is to choose your database very carefully. A lot of performance issues come from poor data modeling and not just from the framework. So you need to think very carefully about your data. What are the entities? What are the main entities? How are they related? And what are the queries that will be made very often? So it's very important to set good relationships amongst these entities, and also set proper indexing and understand query patterns. And this can actually save you a whole lot of headache as you scale. So a good tip is also to think about performance very early on. You can paginate large lists, you can choose not to load unnecessary data or cache the ones that are being loaded very often. So making small decisions like this can actually make your application feel faster and more reliable. Now, it's good to build for observability and failure. Now, people hate to hear this, but when your application is live, things do go wrong. So it's very important for you to care about observability, putting error logs, monitoring, and tracking for when there are issues there. So if you have a case where your web application or your app is failing, you need to know as soon as it happens. If the API responses are slow, or if something is stuck on your on your web app, you need to know as soon as that happens. So a scalable system is not just one that handles traffic, but it's one that you've put in the correct type of logic that allows your team, for instance, to be able to recover very smoothly when issues do occur. So to summarize everything I've said, you need to think very carefully when it comes to building scalable web applications. Think about your product and your users. Think about design around your core user flows. Keep your architecture simple. Your database, think about that very carefully. Maintainability, observability, and also security. So the main point is to make very thoughtful decisions around how you build your system that would allow it to that will allow your product, your users, and your engineering team to grow without the system breaking down. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.